erstmal vorab. Oh, warte. Ähm, ja, so, genau. Erstmal vorab wollte ich sagen, das waren echt, also fand ich auch coole 5 Monate. Ich habe echt sehr viel gelernt. Auch ein Dankeschön an dir, Farid. Ne? Und auch die letzten paar Wochen hast mir auch sehr viel geholfen, um dieses Projekt auf die Beine zu stellen. Und genau, und vorab, ich werde auch diese Präsentation auf Englisch halten, weil ich habe die Applikation auf Englisch gemacht und dann habe ich die Präsentation auf Englisch gemacht. Und ja, ich dachte, wir hätten vielleicht ein paar mehr Menschen, die vielleicht kein Deutsch sprechen. Aber wenn ihr Fragen, Anmerkungen, irgendwas habt, natürlich Frag auf Deutsch. Ist gut. So yes, my application is a travel request management application. It's about auto. So yes, like I said before, the focus on this presentation is to enhance the travel request process through automation, minimizing manual tasks, and improving transparency in tracking approvals and budgets. And by leveraging ServiceNow technologies, we can ensure a smoother and more efficient experience for both the requesters and the approvers. So before I started this project, I thought to myself, what are the challenges and objectives of this project? And when I thought about maybe if we didn't have an automated process, how would like a travel request look like? So I guess you probably have a requester, and he has to maybe email his manager about the idea of where he wants to go, and maybe the manager gets back to them saying, "I need more information. I need like your flight details. I need your time, etc." And then maybe the manager has to contact a different department asking for budget. So it's a really inefficient and slow manual process, which can also be really error prone if you have like more employees and it's bigger. And yes. And I think the second major downside of this is that it's really hard to track budget and the transparency of how many requests there are and how many are on travels, how much budget is left, and so on. So that's why I formulated both of my objectives for this project, which is one is to automate the approval request, and second is to have a clear overview of requests and budgets. Yes. And then when I thought about what the basic flow of a travel request is, it's not that complicated. It's really, really simple to be honest. So that's why I think the simple steps is just you have a requester and he fills out a form, and this requester sends a form to the manager, and the manager approves or denies this process, and then it gets back to the requester. Yes. But I have a small niche in there that made this project a bit more complicated and took a lot of more time, but you'll see it later. Yes. So let me demonstrate the travel request form for you guys. Um, Here, so there's two ways to access the travel request form. So one is I have a module built in where you can create a new one, which is like this. And what I also did is a small service catalog item. It's not that like it's not a record producer where you can fill out the form here, but it's a small explanation of how you do it. Click Ordinal to open the travel request form, fill out the required form in the form, submit the form for the approval process, and then explains what happens afterwards. So your manager will receive the request to approve or reject it. And this is the small niche thing about my project. If the estimated cost of the form of the travel request is over budget, the finance team, so a different department finance manager, will review this project, and lastly, you can check the status of your request in this system. So let's click order now. This is the form. We could live demo it. So let's say the requester is a test junior, just a person I put in the role of junior in. And as I'm going on vacation on Friday to Kathmandu, Nepal, let's say the destination is Kathmandu, Nepal. And the reason for travel, let's say sales for hiking equipment. And then you have to fill out the requester role, which is really, really important for my calculations later. Let me show you. And then you have the start date and end date. Let's take today. And like Pauline, if you took a date which is beforehand, it shows you that you can't do it. So let's take a week after. and the number of days will be automatically calculated. And yes, and further, what I was talking about, the over budget, it's a Boolean which compares the assigned budget to the total estimated cost. And the assigned budget is okay, let me start with total estimated cost. It's just the estimated daily expense, what you spend on average a day, like an estimate, times the number of days you're going to be there, and plus the transportation costs. So let me live demo it. So let's say it's 200 euros, and I searched for a flight beforehand, so I know it's exactly 628 euros for Kathmandu. And then you can see the assigned budget and the total cost are automatically calculated. Because for a junior role, it's 150 euros a day. And it's hard coded. You can change it, of course. And for a senior, you can see that the number changes itself because I think it's at like 250 euros. Yes. And then you can add screenshots and receipts for your travels for showing like why these things cost so much. So like this, that's why 628 euros. I have a screenshot of this and I can add it here. Right. Yeah, I have to justify the budget as well. Like afterwards, if the Boolean of over budget is true, you have to further justify why you need more budget. And I could say like accommodation is too expensive, maybe. And yes, here you can add your attachments. And then you can submit the request. Yes. And then, okay, let me maybe show you the flow like this. Yes. So what happens in my flow is after you submitted the request, it's on created and updated. So the trigger happens at created updated whenever the form is in a draft form. Um, So here, whenever it's in the draft form. So, and the first step is to update the draft form to a pending form. So every new form that is created is automatically in the default position of draft. So if it's a pending already, it will not go through this flow again. And so that's how I triggered it. And as the first if statement, which is the most important one, I guess, is what I said before, is the um, if the over budget Boolean is true, and I put a second condition to make it a little bit safer if the estimated total cost is greater than the assigned budget. Yes. And then, wait, yes. And then the finance manager, in our case, because it was over budget, will be asked to approve. And I can showcase this to you as well. Yes, like this is the request we just submitted earlier. You can see it's a test finance manager and not a normal manager because it was over budget. And if you click here, you can see the entire form of your assigned budget, your total estimate cost, and also you can look at the screenshot of the receipt. And then you have to put in an approval reason for accepting or denying it. And this approval reason is connected to the manager reasoning, which the requester can see later on. So let's say we approve this and say, yes, go ahead. And you approve this request. And then afterwards, after it got approved, an email is sent out to the requester saying if it's approved or not. And you could see it here as well. It's a short email of saying that your request has been approved, which also says like the destination where you're going to go and that it's been approved. Yes. Um, and like we could have, we saw the improvement interface provides a more comprehensive view of the travel request, and it's not an unnecessary back and forth with your manager, and all the relevant details are is going to be on the form. And yes, this ensures a more straightforward process, which is way better and has a better overview. Yes, and so let me go back. to the objectives and the challenges we had. Um, we automated the approval workflow. We reduced the manual communication. We reduced the manual communication that happens between the manager and the requesters. And then, of course, to have a better overview of all the requests and approves and the budgets, I also created a small dashboard. Uh, Opens. Yes, I just created a short dashboard. This shows how many requests are impending, or are denied, or draft, or approved. I think this is the most important one, which this takes all the aggregate, all the sum of all the requests, and it compares the assigned budget with the total estimated costs. And then I guess as a company, you can see if the travel cost exceeds what we expected, and if we could change that, of course. And then at the bottom for the manager, you can see all the open tasks that are available. Yes. And then future improvements that I wanted to make as well, but I didn't have enough time, or I tried and I failed. So the first one is the auto detect of request a role. So what I had before, and it did work, but I just couldn't submit the form and I couldn't find out why. And I guess I ran out of time as well. I think probably knew as well. I had a few mistakes that I had to start over, and I didn't have enough time to do it. But what I wanted to do is um, or what I had is that for the travel request, whenever the requester put in his name, the requester role, I had a script include that automatically fills the requester role, and which meant that the requester role was not visible, but this requester role would automatically work with the assigned budget, and the user didn't have to choose a role, because obviously you could say I'm a senior. Obviously you can say I'm a junior, but you put in your seniors, and it's gonna calculate the senior role, which you probably don't want. Yes. And then my second improvement I could do is like integrate flight and the destination data. Like, of course, you could um, make this process even easier, as in that you don't have to, like, the user doesn't have to look up the flights themselves. Maybe because you have the date times already when you're leaving, and you have the destination as well. You could kind of automate this process with maybe with the API, and where maybe the estimated flight transport costs could be estimated from the system itself, from the average cost of all the flights that you can research from I don't know, Skyscanner or something. Um, and then as well, the same logic, dynamic daily rates. So maybe like if you have the destination, you can look at the, I don't know, the average spending there, the average hotel cost, and then you can calculate something else automatically as well, which will ease this process much, much more as well. And then lastly, that's what I thought when I saw Pauline's project, a better UI for approvals, for details. I wanted to make a workspace as well, but I heard what a pain it was to do so for everyone. So that's why I did an easy dashboard. And yes, that's something I would approve as well if I had more time. Yes. Dann irgendwelche Anfragen, Fragen, Anmerkungen. Das war's von meinerseits.